It's The Real News. I'm Aaron Mate. The long fight for single-payer universal health care has picked up steam. This week, an unprecedented 16 Democrats signed on to co-sponsor Bernie Sanders' Medicare-for-All bill.
Today, all of us stand before you and proudly proclaim our belief that health care in America must be a right, not a privilege. You, the Republican Party, have shown the American people what you stand for when you voted for legislation that would throw up to 32 million Americans off of the health insurance they have, and at the same time give huge tax breaks to the rich and large corporations. You, the Republican Party, have no credibility on the issue of health care.
Sanders' Democratic co-sponsors joined him on stage. But what about the rest of the Democratic caucus? There are still 31 Democratic senators who have not signed on. And a new analysis from the group Lighty suggests at least one possible reason why. These 31 Democrats have received an average $55,000 from the health insurance industry since 2010. Michael Lighty is the Director of Public Policy for National Nurses United. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Aaron, and I should also say I'm also a fellow at the Sanders Institute, so I am pleased to be with you.
That's the group that Sanders has recently set up in the aftermath of the election?
It's really, it's run by Jane Sanders and separate, obviously, from the political operation devoted to policy. And so they've asked me to participate as a healthcare policy fellow.
Okay. Well, look, let's talk Sanders and healthcare policy. First, your response to just the unveiling of this bill with an unprecedented number of Democratic co-sponsors going on record to say, along with Bernie for the first time, that health care is a right.
It's extraordinary, and it, I think, directly results from Senator Sanders' political work making this the signature issue since his campaign. And so we're seeing the fruits of that here with the movement, the grassroots movement responding and generating just an immense campaign of phone calls, town halls, district visits to really move these senators. And it really went from 0 in 2013 to 17 today. And it's a movement on the ascension, and it's very strong policy, and we, I think, deserve to give a lot of credit to Senator Sanders.
And the grassroots movements like yours that have been pushing for this for a long time. Let's talk, though, about the Democrats on the other side, those who are not on board. The 31 that I mentioned, there's that study from Lighty showing that they've received an average of $55,000 from the health insurance industry. Your thoughts on the struggle and the challenges of trying to get them on board?
Well, it's a pervasive problem. I mean, you've got the donor class, the political establishment moving in one direction, and you've got the people and their needs for healthcare moving in the other. And so that's a classic kind of political conflict that I think will get resolved in favor of the people. And so we are confronting the corporate interests. They have more lobbyists for healthcare industry than there are members of Congress, 3 times as many. These are real issues, and it reflects the alienation of voters from politics that this big money dominates the most intimate policy arena of their lives. There's something more personal in healthcare, and yet these corporate interests dominate and dictate. The Princeton study from 2014 is very relevant here. Elite opinion and legislative priorities track. Popular opinion and legislative priorities tend not to. And that is the corruption of the American political system, nothing more personal than in healthcare.
All right, so speaking of which, I want to read for you a tweet from Bernie Sanders. He's linking to an article from The Intercept that talks about the concerns of members of the pharmaceutical industry about his single-payer bill. And Sanders writes, "Pharma CEOs are nervous, and they should be." And let me just play you a clip that comes from that article by Li Feng in The Intercept, talking about a pharmaceutical executive speaking recently to a conference about his fears around single payer. Here he is.
You know, I think we've got to do things to bring that trust back, because ultimately someone's going to be in the White House, somebody's going to be in Congress, someone's going to be somewhere and going to have to say enough's enough. Let's just change the whole system. Let's go to one payer. Let's do something. The left of their party is really gotten a louder voice and taking control. And so, Bernie Sanders and others in that movement have really tried to vet candidates, on the opposite side of the coin as the Tea Party was. So we're seeing the divide go further, and clearly, they want to go to that part of the party wants to go to a one-payer system.
So, Michael Lighty, that's Brent Saunders of the company Allergan saying that Americans are going to say about health care, enough is enough.
Well, he's right. He's right. And it's not just, a segment of the Democrats who want this. This is very popular. Majority of Republicans support a federal guarantee of health care. You've got majority of Democrats, a strong majority. I mean, it's somewhere 60, 70% supported. And you've got the momentum of a movement. There's only one movement out there, and that's the one demanding Medicare for all. So I think it's a misreading of the politics to say this is a narrow band of support. It's a broad band of support, and Americans are fed up. Enough is enough, and they're not afraid of losing what they have because what they have is not good enough.
What do you think of the concerns that people have raised about these 16 Democratic co-sponsors, that they're not actually really serious about fighting for single payer, that they know that because this is a Republican-controlled Congress, and also because so many Democrats are not going to sign on to single payer, that simply that for many of these people, like Cory Booker, Kristen Gillibrand, others who are rumored to be contenders in 2020, that this is just a political stunt for them to be able to say, yes, I supported single payer, knowing that it actually has no chances?
The movement's going to hold them accountable. That's what I'd say. I mean, it's not up to them. I mean, a lot of these folks didn't necessarily want to get on the bill, but the politics compelled them. Baseline policy is good. They recognize that. It's very good. They recognize they had a comfort level with it. But this is being driven by the movement and their constituents, and they're going to have to be continually accountable to them. So I don't really care about their motivations necessarily. What I care is when it comes time to vote, they vote for it.
Right. And, once you go on record saying that something is a right, it's pretty difficult to walk that back. But,
well, I agree, Aaron. No, Aaron, I really agree, because I was there yesterday and I was thinking, man, if these guys aren't serious, they've really committed themselves to something that they're going to have to answer for.
Yeah. Well, let me also put you another argument I've heard in the liberal pushback to Sanders' bill. And this week in my segments on the Sanders healthcare bill, I've been trying to put forward the counter-arguments that are going to be put forward against people who want to see universal health care. And one of them is that we should be focusing our attention not on the impossible, but on shoring up what's currently under attack, which is the Affordable Care Act. Do you think, first of all, that that's mutually exclusive, that it's not possible to do both?
It's not mutually exclusive, number one. I mean, the folks, the activists and the regular folks who need health care, were desperate for health care and got it under the ACA, came to Washington, protested at the Senate. They, as part of this movement, organically demanded Medicare for all. They were literally getting arrested to save the ACA and demand Medicare for all. So if those folks can do it, including disabled activists, I think members of Congress are probably capable. But secondly, this reform is more popular than the ACA. It's more popular than repeal. So why not do this, which is the popular part of the system, Medicare, that works? It only makes sense. We've tried everything else. So I just don't buy that argument. And I just haven't seen it in practice, because I've seen activists doing both all over the country.
Okay. One more I'm going to throw at you. One figure we'll hear often is that health care accounts for 1/6 of the economy. So it's simply just not feasible to try to undergo such a radical transformation of something so vital to the nation and immersed in so many different people's lives, for many people as their place of work, because many people work for the healthcare insurance industry. Your thoughts on that?
Well, we have to take care of the workers who are displaced as a result of this, and both Senator Sanders' bill and other state bills have that provision for just transition for those workers. But the reality is, this Reform is not disruptive. 60% of healthcare expenses are paid by taxpayers today. This expands public financing, but that's what it changes. You can still go to your doctor. In fact, you can go to any doctor. You have complete choice, unlike the present system where there are narrow networks. So, in fact, it preserves the doctor-patient relationship by enhancing access and by enhancing the role of doctors and nurses in determining care instead of insurance company bureaucrats. When you eliminate insurance company premiums, deductibles, and copays, that is popular. That's not a disruption.
And speaking of disruption, what about the companies themselves? Would Sanders' measure result in putting the insurance companies out of business?
No. I mean, they've got other lines of work, but you also have an administrative role. I mean, Aetna processes claims for Medicare. And they do it at a much lower rate of administrative cost, under 5%. So you can incorporate the administrative process, but you don't want the denials, the treatment reviews, the bureaucrats overlooking the shoulders of doctors and nurses, and that's what we eliminate. The administrative function can remain.
But even in the administrative function, there's still a profit motive there. So
no, not on that basis. You could contract with them to process claims, and pay bills. That is pure. There's no profit. There's no role for the insurance company per se, but there is a role for that process.
All right, Michael. Well, as you fly out of D.C., where you joined Sanders' kickoff event, your thoughts on where the struggle goes forward?
This struggle goes forward to every state in the country to get every senator on this bill. We're not going to give up, and California is going to lead the way with Senator Sanders. He's going to be out in California next week, and we expect that to be a rousing kickoff for this national, massive campaign.
Michael Lighty, Director of Public Policy for National Nurses United. If you're wondering why he's whispering, it's because he's at an airport after joining Bernie Sanders and many others for that kickoff. Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
And thank you for joining us on The Real News.